From Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me like he always does after a Carolina football or basketball game, THI publisher Andrew Jones. Andrew, Carolina getting a 56-45 victory in Kenan Stadium over Virginia Tech today. Big win for the Heels. Wasn't always pretty. It wasn't always ugly. But in the end, Carolina found a way to win. AJ, first thing I want to talk about, offensively, I think that was probably the biggest positive to come out of this game. Michael Carter, 200-plus rushing yards. Javonte Williams, over 100-plus rushing yards. Sam Howell, really, the deep ball connected well. De'Ami Brown had a touchdown. Daz Newsome got involved. Just a really positive day for the offense as a whole.
Everybody that played on the offensive side of the ball played well today. Even De'Ami had a couple of drops, but he made up for it. That second touchdown, he stumbled. He started to fall to the earth, didn't fall to the earth, regained himself enough to catch the ball as the defender went down. He waltzed into the end zone. I actually asked him about that after the game, and he smiled, but he made up for the earlier drops. So I guess when you score 56 points and you have 656 yards, you can afford a couple of drops.
Yeah, you
can afford a hold or a couple of false starts, which is what happened today. They were as good offensively as they've been with this group together, no doubt about it. 21-0, 35-14. You know, they hurt themselves on a couple of drives, but again, 56 and 565. They got the long ball going.
Yeah, they did.
And you know what helped the long ball?
What?
Is they got the ball to Daz Newsome early. One of the topics this past week was Daz had one catch last week at BC, 2 targets.
Yep.
But he had 5 catches before the end of the first quarter, I think, today. 5 touches. I guess
right.
One was a run. That one of his touchdowns was actually a run. It looked like a pass, but the pass was backwards, so it was a run. They got Daz going in the traditional slot way. If you remember when Ryan Switzer was here, the way he used to get the ball, they were using Daz that way.
Very similar.
And it opened up that over-the-top stuff. And next thing you know, Sam hits De'Ami for an over-the-top touchdown. His first completion on a ball thrown 20 or more yards downfield this year. He did another one with De'Ami. So they did everything right offensively. And we cannot forget to mention the offensive line, which was maligned last week. They allowed 4 sacks to BC, 17 quarterback hurries. And they were playing a team that had 13 sacks and 29 quarterback hurries coming into this game. Sam was sacked once. He was touched a couple of times today, and some was when he ran the ball on his own. I mean, if this was a grass field, Sam would have been the cleanest guy out there.
Yeah, you're not
lying.
Didn't
get hit much. So Josh Azudu was back. He made a difference. The offensive line was excellent. The holes were big enough for me to waddle through a lot of the time.
Yeah, you're not lying.
And instead, you had Michael Carter, who was faster, quicker, and more explosive than he was last year, and I think he's stronger. And then Javonte Williams, who's the package, the whole package. So those guys combined, running and receiving today, combined for 453 yards.
Yeah.
And Michael Carter, get this, 214 yards today. On the season, 40 carries for 413 yards. He's averaging 10.3 yards a rush.
It's a heck of a stat.
I mean, drop the mic.
Yeah.
Michael, just
walk off and end the
amazing.
Video. Yeah.
Fantastic performance by the offense. No complaints for anybody.
No, I don't think you can complain about the offense. We'll flip the focus now and talk a little bit about the defense, which look good at times, especially in that first half. They had some glimpses, but that third quarter, AJ, really for the team as a whole, Carolina did not play well in that third quarter. But defensively, Hokies got a little bit of that momentum, and you kind of look up at the scoreboard and you're like, this is like a one-possession game, or this is a one-touchdown game right now. Defensively, it was okay at times, but I think overall, 45 points is a lot, and I know Jay Bateman will not be happy with that overall.
45 points, 495 yards.
Yes.
Khalil Herbert was a point of emphasis for the defense this week, big-time running back at Virginia Tech. He still finished with around 135 yards, 18 carries, so he had a big day. They didn't even use him for a while. I was wondering why Tech wasn't even going to him for a while in the first quarter. Then they finally did. They got it going. I think there were some tackling issues for Carolina, point of attack issues. They didn't have Ray Vahasek. We saw the result of that. A lot more Miles Murphy today, some Zach Gill today, because they had to make up those reps somehow. And then the passing game, Tech was able to hit on some stuff. It's kind of quirky in a lot of ways. I mean, even Hendon Hooker had a 20-yard pass reception on a reverse play. So it's hard to tell. I have to go back and look at the staff, obviously, look and see how the secondary played. They didn't have Storm Duck, who's their best cover guy. And I think it showed at times. They were thin at times defensively, and I think it showed a lot in that third quarter. Virginia Tech ran 25 offensive plays in the third quarter and gained 228 yards. We've seen some really rotten defenses here in this program over the years.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to name the eras, but you guys know what the eras were.
Absolutely.
That third quarter looked like those eras. But they cleaned it up some in the fourth quarter. The offense kept the ball. I think they only ran 10 plays in the third quarter, and they ran a lot more in the fourth quarter. And they responded, got the W. But there's some stuff to clean up on D. But you know what? And I'm probably teasing too quickly, but they're showing that they're winning all these different ways. And I guess I'll segue into you on that one.
A-plus segue right there, AJ.
Hey.
Carolina, 3-0 right now. And when you look back at the Syracuse game, you look back at the Boston College game, you look at today's game, like you mentioned, Carolina found 3 different ways to win. That Syracuse game, pretty ugly first half, and then they kind of pulled away in the second. Look at that Boston College game, pretty tight game, especially in that second. Trey Morrison gets that interception, pick 2, whatever you want to call it, returns it, game over. And then today, Carolina gets up 21-0, and then Virginia Tech kind of finds its way back in it, especially after that poor third quarter performance from really the team as a whole. But ultimately, Carolina finds a way to win, and in the end, won pretty comfortably. But that's a big plus for Mack Brown. For if you're a fan of Carolina, it's a big plus that not only is Carolina sitting at 3-0, but they've won each game in a different manner.
Well, they had to fight off the last 2 punts.
Yes, absolutely.
They had to fight off BC. They looked like they were in position to be in control after pulling away from Syracuse. They had to fight off the Hokies today.
Yeah.
And the 2-point conversion, it was a penalty. The penalties didn't help today either. We're not going to talk about the negatives, but the penalties, 10 more penalties by the Tar Heels. They're going to have to address that. That's 49 penalties in 3 games now. But they found a way to win, and they were really good in an area. So they've been really good on defense so far this year at times. Today they were really good on offense. And what's crazy is when you look ahead at who they got over the next few weeks, and we'll learn more about NC State going. NC State had a big win. They're 3-1. Maybe the Wolfpack's a lot better than anybody thought.
Yeah,
the Tar Heels may not have to put it all together for a while, but if you're a Carolina fan, you're going to want them to against somebody.
Yeah.
So when they get to those games where they must put it together in order to win, they know they can going in. This is all about learning and figuring out who they are and checking stuff off a very long laundry list that this program is in the process of dealing with. Last week when Max said we would have lost this game last year, the BC game. Today, he's like, we did lose this game last year. Virginia Tech dominated the fourth quarter, ran it down their throats. Well, they didn't do that today. Carolina was the better team in the fourth quarter. So they are still climbing. There's a very high mountain that they aspire to ascend and eventually summit. And you've got to hit all those steps along the way. And winning games in a variety of ways is a huge confidence boost for this group. And also beating this program. We talked a lot during the week in our preview pod. I wrote a column about it. This was the most important game of the Mack Brown era part 2. Because Virginia Tech has been the biggest nemesis to Carolina.
Absolutely.
Since the Hokies joined the ACC coming in today, they were 13-3 against Carolina. The last 2 years, they beat them right at the end of games that UNC thought they should have won and didn't win. They're now 2-7 at home against Virginia Tech. In order to continue that climb, you had to beat this team.
You did.
You had to take care of it, and it looked for a while like they were going to do so. Putting their foot on the throat, so to speak.
Out,
But they didn't do it. So again, you go back and you have a lot of growing, a lot of learning to do. But they're 3-0. The number 8 in the country. They're probably going to move up. Florida lost today. Who knows? Miami could lose. They lose ugly. You never know what's going to happen. So I wouldn't worry about the ranking. If I'm a Carolina fan, I focus on the fact that they're winning in different ways. The offense finally got it going. Lots for the defense to learn. They got to get healthier because they're a little thin on that side of the ball now, especially in the secondary.
For sure.
That room was massive when fall camp started. Now it's like this.
Tight, yeah.
So there's a lot of growing for this team to do, but man, if you're 3-0 and you're in the top 10 and you got a lot of growing to do, that's a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, you can't be mad at that. Especially, I mean, we were talking about it off camera before here. You've covered a lot of Carolina football in your time, AJ, and I know fans and analysts and whoever you want to be can be kind of nitpicky about this team and, well, they did this well, but they didn't do this well, but you're 3-0. You're top 10 in the country. I don't think if you're a Carolina fan, you can be mad at that at all. But 56-45 win for the Heels today over Virginia Tech. That's going to do it for me. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. As always, be sure to like the video. Be sure to share it. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks.